Guys, welcome back to my channel. So today guys, I'm going to be making an illustration on this particular style that someone sent to me. It's a very trendy style and I'm going to be making like 3 videos on it. This particular one is just to show you guys the basic Bubu style, the basic one, like with a round neckline, nothing attached to it. The second one, I can also show you guys how to make it in form of a v-neck with the style on it. I'm going to insert a picture so you guys will see what I'm saying. You can make it in form of a bubu, you can make it a v-neck, you can make it with a placket or button in front or a tie at the neck. You can just change around the top part of it, but the body still remains the same. So I just wanted to get the body part of it out of the way so you guys will see how to make it like a plain one. So basically all you have to do is, so you're going to take your fabric. Guys, I'm going to show you on a pattern paper on a smaller fabric, which is the one I'm going to cut, because this I'm not making it for myself. I'm just trying to illustrate it for the person that sent to me, and then I'm going to show you how to cut it on a bigger fabric. You have to use a fabric that drapes, right? You need a fabric that is light, not fabric that is too starchy, because it will just blow up and it will not drape. It's the draping that makes it look nice. So you might want to use like a crepe. Any fabric that just falls easily is better for this style, so it will be more flattering on your body. So now you're going to first fold the fabric into 2. You see this fabric, this one is the front panel, which is on a fold. The basic thing to understand here is that this has a zip at the back. So you're going to first fold the fabric on top, which is this one, and then fold the second one with 1 inch of zipper allowance. That's it. Then talking about the width here, your width is going to basically be the whole width of the fabric when you fold it. So depending on you, you can do your shoulder divided by 2, which most times is 8, and then plus the sleeve length you want to use. Some of them, they come with this if you look at it, some of these styles, they come with like a pleat on the shoulder, almost as if they tucked in the sleeve. You know that bubu that comes with a pleat on it? Some of them look as if they pleated it once, like tucked it in. If you want to do that, then you might want to add like, let's say, extra 4 inches or extra 6 inches to it, so that you can use it as the draping in. That's added to the width of the line. So let's say my shoulder divided by 2 is 8 now, right? So now the next thing I have to add is the sleeve length. If I want it to come up to here, so let's say from here to my shoulder is, let's say, 16. Then I'm going to add extra like 6 inches to it so that I can use it as that draping that will tuck in, right? And then I'm going to add my 1.5 of seam allowance. So basically you're going to do shoulder divided by 2, for me 8, plus my sleeve length, let's say 16, plus my 1.5 of sewing, that 1 inch of folding the edge. If you want, you can use a different fabric for the inside of it. It depends on you. So let's say 1 inch of sewing allowance to fold the ruffle, the opening of my sleeve, and then plus, let's say if I want to do the extra ruching, that will be also let's say 6 or 4 inches, depending on the amount of pleats you want to make. So that total will now be whatever I get. Let's say whatever I get now, maybe let's say 25 or so. That's going to be the width of this fabric. The length is basically your shoulder to your ankle plus 1.5 of seam allowance, right? Or wherever you want the length of this to be. 1 inch of folding the edge of your pants, half an inch of joining the shoulder part. So that's the length and the width. So now let's go into cutting it. This is very easy. So basically you're going to first go ahead, mark your shoulder divided by 2. So I'm going to still show you guys on a bigger fabric. Shoulder divided by 2, right? You mark that, and then you mark your 3 inches of neckline here, and then let's say this is the total length of the sleeve. Come down here by, let's say, 1 inch of shoulder slope. This is my 3 inches of neckline. You're going to mark the back neckline first, 1 inch down. The front neckline is going to be like 3 inches like this. Like come down 3 inches for the front, 1 inch for the back, and then you're going to connect this shoulder slope. this way. And then after that, the next thing you're going to do is come down here by, let's say, 10 inches or so, depending on how you want the opening of this to be. You can do 10 inches. Just imagine it as I'm calling out the number. Imagine what is going to be, right? You're going to say 10 inches opening from the opening of this sleeve from here to here. Once that is done, I might just come in here by, let's say 1 inch or so in here. And then the next thing I'm going to do, remember this is a Batwing that we are making. The next thing I'm going to do is basically to just go in here, come down to the end of my pants. Maybe it depends on you. You can come in here by, let's say, another 10 inches or so, right? Depending on the type of opening you want your pant to have, right? So first, I'm just going to go in from the center of my crotch. I'm going to go in 2 inches. And then I'm going to measure around my ankle divided by 2, right? Round my ankle divided by 2. So let's say round my ankle is 12 divided by 2, 6, right? I'm going to add, let's say, an extra 3 inches to it because of seam allowance, and so I'm going to add extra 3 inches to it. Mark it. Don't make it too pens, because the beauty of this is like everything is like free and seamless. So don't make it too tight at the foot of the pants, right? So let's say my ankle is 12, like I said, round my ankle is 12, which I know most times it might be 10, 11 or so. Let's say it's 12, divide it by 2, I have 6, right? That's after I've come in here by 2 inches. I'm going to put in that, but with extra 3 inches of seam allowance. That's 1 inch for ease, 1 inch for this side seam allowance, 1 inch for the other side seam allowance. And then I'm going to now take it. You're going to make it like a curve, like a Batwing. Don't use ruler. Connect it down to this part here. Normally it would curve more. But just see what I'm doing here. You're going to curve this part into this here, and then after that you're going to go up from here. Depending on you, you can measure on yourself from your ankle up where you want the draping of the pants to be, right? The drop crotch, how far you want it to be. Maybe just below your knee. So that might be about, maybe let's say from your ankle up, it might be 14 inches, 15 inches, or 13 inches, depending on how tall you are. Then come up there, mark it. Remember the 2 inches that you marked before, mark it again. And then connect it down this way. And then use a curve to blend it into this line. And then connect it to the back. Remember, everything we are marking in front is just for the front alone. But we are going to connect it to the back. The only difference is that the back has a zipper, right? So now, all you have to do, this is basically it. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out on the crotch here. Cut this side out. And then cut my shoulder slope up to the neckline. Cut this part out for the back. If I wanted a boat neck so that I can drape down one shoulder, what I can do is just to go ahead and extend this neckline by, let's say, bring it, instead of doing 3 inches of neckline, I can do 4. I can do 5, sorry. Bring it wider and then just connect it, let's say 5 inches, and then blend it in. That way I can drape the shoulder to one side, any side I want, no side in particular. So now you're going to cut this part out. So guys, this is basically how you make this style. So all you have to do now is just to go ahead, open up the front. I know it's looking crazy right now, but just go along with me. You sew this side, you sew the shoulder to the shoulder, right? You take it this way, sew the shoulder, fold in the sleeve as you're coming down. If you watched a Bubu, you understand this. Just sew it down this way from the inside, guys. From the inside, you sew it in to the end of the pant. Fold the end of this pant. Come up here, sew it back again. Close this part up, sew this part, and then fold the sleeve. Go back to the back. Maybe use bias to run the neckline and put in your zip. So now that I've shown you guys what it's going to look like on a smaller scale, I'm going to cut it also. I'm going to bring a bigger fabric and demonstrate it, and before I cut it on this smaller one. It's basically, if you're making this style, all you have to do, like I said, is calculate the length of your sleeve and everything by the width, right? Once you've calculated it, that will be the width. That's your shoulder measurement divided by 2. For me, that's 8, right? So shoulder measurement for me is 16, divided by 2 is 8. I go ahead and mark 8. Go ahead, add the length you want your sleeve to be, let's say 14, plus extra like 2 inches, 4 inches or 6 inches if you want to make the ruching. Add that also, and then plus your 1 inch of folding the end of your sleeve. That's basically what the width you're going to fold the fabric to be. Like I said, the length is going to be the length of your from your shoulder to your ankle, right? So then after that, the next thing you're going to do now is just to come up here and mark 3 inches of neckline. right? Remember, this is just the front panel. The front and the back are the same, except that if I had the back, I had to, if I'm cutting this fabric now, I would have added 1 inch here all the way down for another fabric that is folded just like this. You know how you have your front and your back panel, right? The front would have been folded this way. Just imagine it that I'm cutting this and this fabric is the bigger one. You're just going to have this one this way, right? The front is this one, and then the only difference is that the back has 1 inch of zipper allowance. That's the difference between the front and the back for this style. But like I said, I'm not cutting this is for, because this is a suggestion, so I'm just using my fabric to explain it. So imagine that now. So you're going to mark 3 inches here, and then after that, come down here, mark 1 inch from down here. Then you're going to connect it to this point. So you're going to connect this 1 inch you came down here for the shoulder slope, connect it all the way to this 3 inches of neckline. So you're going to go this way and then blend it in here to this point. Then another thing I like to do is that you're going to, like I said, you're going to come down here 10 inches of opening. I'm going to do 10 inches opening for the sleeve. And then after that, I'm going to come in here just by 1 inch. If you want, you don't have to. But I like to come in here 1 inch so that when I tuck in the end of my sleeve, it won't blend into the body of the clothes, right? So I like to just come in here a little bit more, like 1 inch. And then once you've done that, then that's all. All you have to do now is just to come down here to the end of the pants, to the end of this. Let's say this is where the end of this is, right? This is the end of the body of this. All I have to do now is, by the center, I'm going to go up to how many inches I need. Like I said before, it can be 14, it can be 15, it can be 13, depending on how dropped you want your crotch to be. But remember, you're using a fabric that is very light, so it's going to drape. And also put into consideration the 1 inch you're going to use to fold the end of your pants. So let's say my pant stops here. I still need that 1 inch of seam allowance to fold the end, right? So when I'm going to mark it, I need to mark it from this line and put into consideration my seam allowance also. So let's say I decide to do for 12 inches. I'm going to go 12 inches here. And then I'm going to come in here by, like I said, you can do 2 inches. Because once it opens up, it will be 4 inches in between. But if you're a small person, and if you want, you can do 2. But to be on the safer side, now that I'm looking at it, it will be better to go in like 3 inches or so. You understand? Because normally your crotch would have been like 3 inches or 3.5, right? So I'll do 3 inches in from that point. I went up by 12. So it depends on you. You can measure from your ankle going up where you want it to be. So let's say I want it to be 12 inches up, because you can't do up to your knee. It might look weird. So just a little bit below your knee is where the drop crotch is, based on the style, is what I'm saying. Like, you can do your own thing, but I'm saying based on what the style I've been seeing, it's always below your knee, right? So you now come in here 3 inches and then mark it this way, and then bring down this line also. That same 3 inches, bring it down. It's not looking like a rectangle this way, right? Then from this point, you measure around your ankle. Let's say what you get is 12 divided by 2 is 6. You add about, let's say, 3 inches, because you're not making a pencil pant. This is a jumpsuit. You want it to be free. 3 inches, because I need 1 inch to sew this side, 1 inch to sew this side, and maybe let's say 1 inch for the free part of it, right? So I'm going to add 3 inches here. And then after that, the next thing I have to do is just to blend this like a batwing. You know how we make a batwing, right? Blend it all the way going up this way to this 1 inch mark here. That's basically it. So all you have to do now is just to, instead of this angle here, try to blend it into a curve this way. Maybe come in 1 inch from this point and blend it so it looks like a curve. And then you just go ahead and cut it. So you cut this part out, and as you're cutting into the back panel. You cut here, then you go up to this point and cut all the way to this point. Cut your shoulder slope, the neckline. Guys, another thing that you have to do is that if you look at it, you will see that by the under bust side, there's like a tacking that makes it look like it's fitted on your belly part, right? So that's by the under bust. So you're going to also mark from your shoulder to your under bust. So let's say that's like 15 or 14. Mark that line. And then you're going to come in here from the center of your cloth, and you're going to mark from your underbust divided by your underbust divided by 4. So let's say your underbust divided by 4 is 9. Go ahead and mark that 9. right? So it's supposed to be somewhere here, so that when you're done, you're going to make a stitch down to that point, like you're making a kaftan, like about not too long, like let's say 3 inches stitch on that part. But I'm going to show you guys that after we are done. So everything I just explained now, I'm going to cut it on this fabric now, bring it back so that you guys will see it once I've cut it on a fabric, and then I'll go ahead and sew it, so that after sewing it I can go ahead and show you guys how to tack down this part. So guys, you see what I was saying, it looks almost like a kid's onesie, but that's exactly what the style is supposed to look like, except when we go ahead now and tack it down by the side, then it's giving you the batwing and that. So all I have to do now is, you see the back, like I said, only thing that differs here is just this 1 inch of seam allowance, which you see this one on a fold is exactly like what we talked about before. So I'm going to just go ahead and join it shoulder to shoulder, folding my sleeve, and then I'm going to show you guys every other thing when I'm done. Guys, this is it here. I've just go ahead, close up the shoulder, fold the sleeve, close the side, come to this side also, close up the, fold the end of your pants. So you see, now the next thing I have to do is just to close up this crotch. But before that, I already sewed up these parts of the back panel, so that this remaining space is just for you to put in your zip. Remember, there's supposed to be a zip here, maybe like a zip going up all the way down to the waist. So that's basically what the remaining space is for. So all I have to do now is just to close up this crotch part. So guys, this is it here. Like I said, the 3 inches I was talking about is basically from the center line of the jumpsuit here. Once you've sewn everything and ironed it out, you place it open this way. Measure from your shoulder to your under bust. Let's say this is where my line is. The next thing I'm going to do is from the center here, I'm going to measure my under bust divided by 4. So let's say your under bust is 40, divided by 4, you're going to mark 10 inches away from here, 10 inches away from here. Then you're going to sew it 3 inches down. This has to be from your under bust, because if you look at it, it's not on the bust. The fitted part is not on the bust. It comes right from your under bust, and then it goes down a little bit, like let's say 3 inches. So you're going to sew it down that way, and then down on this side. That's that fitting that you're seeing at the center, and then the rest of the jumpsuit is just free. That's why it has a zip at the back, because there's no way you can wear this with this fitting. And even with the neckline, even without this fitting, there's no way you can enter into it without the zip at the back. So you use your bias, run it through the neckline, put in the zipper, and that's basically it here. So like I said, I'll be doing a separate video on the other one with the V neckline and the thing in front. If you want to also see the one with the placket and a button, I can also explain that for you guys. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.